Hey Algebra 2 kids, we're going to take a look at one example here, and this will help you as you do a couple by yourselves. So we have an object being launched from a platform, and there's an equation given for that object and the path that it takes. Now, I always sketch a graph so I can understand what my x variable is, what my y variable is. In this instance, my x variable is t time, and my y variable is height. So I'm just going to sketch a quick graph here because we have an object going up, 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 down, down, down. Okay. This is going to help me kind of visualize as I'm doing these four problems. Okay, first thing is, what is the initial height when this is launched? So I'm trying to find h when time is equal to 0, okay? If you're trying to find height, you're going to have to plug in a time, and if you're trying to find time, you're going to have to plug in a height. Well, my initial height is when time equals to 0. So I'm just going to plug in 0. If I do that, I get the height when the time is 0 seconds is equal to -5 times 0 squared plus 20 times 0 plus 60. Hey, that just equals to 60. So my initial height is 60 feet. Don't forget your units there. All right, number 2, after how many seconds is the object at its highest? Okay, now how many seconds? We're trying to find time. Okay, you might notice that in my graph, the object's at its highest right in the middle of this parabola, which is your axis of symmetry. So I'm going to use negative b over 2a to find that axis of symmetry, to find the time right in the middle. So negative b over 2a, and I'm taking this just from the equation up at the top. One more thing, make sure this equation in green is in standard form, which means t squared, t constant in that order. That'll help you out. Okay, negative b, so negative 20 over 2 times -5. We get negative 20 over negative 10, which is 2. So how many seconds? 2 seconds. All right, what that means is at 2 seconds, it's at its highest point, and then that projectile is going to come back down. Okay, what is the maximum height? Well, here's the thing. I know that it occurs right in the middle of that parabola, and I know that middle of the parabola is at t equals 2 seconds, okay? It reaches its highest point, its maximum height, at 2 seconds. So I'm going to plug back into this function 2 for t, so the height at 2 seconds is equal to -5 times 2 squared plus 20 times 2 plus 60, and I just need to evaluate this. Don't forget your order of operations. We need to square this 2 first, so we get -20 plus 40 plus 60. So the height at 2 seconds is 80 feet. So that's going to answer my maximum height. Okay, basically what we just did here is we found the vertex, which the vertex is at the point 2, 80, right? Now, we just, using my graph, I can easily see that 2 is going to represent the time, and 80 is going to represent the height. So that kind of helps me understand that 2 is my t, and 80 is my h. Okay, last one here. When does this object hit the ground? So I'm trying to find when, I'm trying to find the time, and because of this, I need to plug in a height and find the time when that height happens. Okay, you might notice when an object hits the ground, that's going to be this blue point over on the graph here. Well, it hits the ground when the height equals 0, right? The ground's at 0. So I'm going to plug in 0 for my height. So 0 is equal to -5t squared plus 20t plus 60. All right, at this point, we need to solve a quadratic, okay? If this isn't set equal to 0, make sure you set it equal to 0. And at this point, we have a couple different options. We can factor it. We can use quadratic formula. Those are my two options. This one actually might factor. I would maybe divide everything by -5, but I'm going to show you that quadratic formula so you can use that as an example going forward, okay? All right, I'm just going to pick out my a value. Again, my a value is how many t squareds or x squareds, so I have -5. My b value is how many t's or x's, 20, and then my c value is that constant. I'm just going to plug into this quadratic formula. We get negative b plus or minus the square root of 20 squared minus 4 times negative 5 times 60 all over 2 times negative 5. And I'm just going to start simplifying part by part here. So I get negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 400. Now, in this part here, everything I highlighted in green, I just multiply this all together. Negative 4 times negative 5 times 60, and I get positive 1200. So this is really going to turn into plus 1200 all over negative 10. Let's move this over here. I have negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 1600, which is just 40, all over negative 10. Now, when we're doing word problems, we don't have to separate these butterflies because we're just going to figure out an approximation. We can round our answers. It doesn't need to be an exact value. So I'm going to get two answers here. One where I'm adding, so negative 20 plus 40 over negative 10. And I'm going to get one where I'm subtracting, negative 20 minus 40 over negative 10. My top one is 20 over negative 10, which is negative 2. My bottom one is negative 60 over negative 10, which is 6. All right, at this point, those are my two answers, okay? And if you look at the graph, those are my two times. Now, I disregard the negative one because I don't care about negative time. But what you can notice is this parabola, now my thing doesn't want to draw. Okay, this parabola does have a negative place that it does hit that y or that x-axis, but we don't care about it, right? Because it's negative time. So the only time we do care about is all the way over by this blue dot, which is 6 seconds. That's when the object hits the ground. So I'm going to use my units here, 6 seconds, and answer the question, okay? So this is a good example. This covers everything we do with quadratics: initial height, max, when does the max occur, and when does it hit the ground, okay? A couple keywords when you see maximum, or how many seconds is the object at its highest or maximum, that's going to be your vertex. So don't forget that negative b over 2a. All right, great job. You're going to try a couple by yourselves. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you're having a good week. Bye.